All right, so here with 2H remote viewing, we're going to talk about a session retask that we did for our November monthly news. I set this target up. Target number was 11/12, 2025, which was the date that I tasked it. And the tasking was for our viewers to perceive and record the most impactful global news event occurring on or around November 21st, 2025. And I also made sure to define impactful in the context of the tasking as having a direct impact on geopolitics, trade, and/or financial markets, and being in alignment with the goals of 2HRV to provide engaging and useful intuitive content for you, our audience, and subscribers. Because, if it's boring, then you're not going to watch it. So, all right. So I wasn't actually planning to run this target. I was going to just run my December news, but then I ended up displacing to this target. The reason I wanted to retask on this was because in our November news, a few of us got some interesting stuff happening around November 20th, third week of November. It sounded like it was going to be a pretty chaotic, maybe a historic kind of week with a lot of stuff going on. So again, before I did this tasking, I checked out the astrology of November 21st, and we're actually moving into a new season from Scorpio to Sagittarius. The sun's moving from between those two signs, and it's also conjunct to Uranus. Uranus? How should I say that? Uranus is funnier. Um, so it's opposing the sun. This is kind of generally thematically a time for breakthroughs, surprises, and kind of generally positive stuff, I would say, which was in a bit of a contrast to what our November data was showing, which was kind of more chaotic. So yeah, I thought it was probably a good retask for us to see what's going on November 21st or thereabouts. So again, I tried to do my December 2025 news session here, and I even set aside the usual suspects, which is like the Epstein news and all that kind of stuff, current news that I was paying attention to at the time, and really to no avail. I kept getting this symbol of like, it felt like something kind of rising up and then crashing down, rising up, crashing down, rising up, crashing down. This ideogram came through like three times. Spinning, chaos, turbulence, rising and then falling, transient, messy. That was kind of the general feeling of the target. And again, I was trying to do my December news at this point. I wasn't quite sure that I'd been displaced. But then when I tried to kind of get back on target, I cued myself to draw the S&P 500 chart from November 21st to January 1st. But instead of drawing that, I drew this crazy ideogram, which does not really resemble a chart. And once I started kind of feeling out what it was, I realized, okay, this kind of felt like two structures that were, separate but important. I got that same feeling and that same image in a session I did for World Astrology Report. So that's what WAR stands for there. And then there was this lightning bolt thing, and this little kind of weird thing that to me looks a little bit like Trump's hair and droopy jowls there. So yeah, it was this kind of lightning. I thought maybe okay, still sort of on the stock market thing. Maybe there's a flash crash associated with Trump or this Epstein vote, something like that. Um, and again, sorry, the red text is stuff I added after feedback, but I'll just show you some of the feedback that's come up since I did this session. I did the session on November 16th, and over here, being quiet and getting this organized for an easy edit. So I did the session on November 16th, and now we've gotten some news. We're recording on the 19th right now. But on the 18th, the Senate unanimously agreed to send the Epstein bill straight to Trump's desk after it passed the House. I think only one person voted against it in the House. There was a little bit of a dip in the stock market on the 18th as well. The whole week was kind of bad, actually. And what I figured out was actually this little guy here was me buying the dip while watching all this crazy stuff happening up here with the Senate and the House and the flash crash. But then on the 19th, we even got this piece of news where it straight up said lightning in the headline with regards to this same thing, and so that's kind of the one I'm calling the official feedback. But yeah, the Senate acted with lightning speed to pass the Epstein files release after Trump gives the green light. So I'm pretty sure that my session was looking at this particular event. But I'd be curious to see what everybody else got, because I imagine you all brought different intentions to what you were doing. I was also fairly front loaded and not even really intending to run this target at the time that I displaced to it. So I'd love to see what everybody else got on this one.
I got some more Epstein stuff, so I'll go next. Okay, so this was the tasking here was like most significant events on or around the 21st of November. So I just described one thing here. We got a conflict and opposition between two parties here. And I think what we've got is Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene. So down here, I'm describing like what do I say about Trump? The legitimacy and ontological validity crumbles. It's pretty harsh. But there's this idea of the rhetoric is getting more and more crazy, and the crazier and more sort of ungrounded and blustery the rhetoric is getting, that's a signal that his position is getting weaker, right? So sort of the louder the shouting becomes, the less foundation there really is. And then over here, we've got somebody who I think is probably MTG. I don't know. But I say conservative, specific claims, not changing their story. Claims match their foundation. They're not playing games. They're not lying or dissembling. They really mean what they're saying and they're sticking to their story. And we've got a sequence of events coming up, which I guess maybe could be the House vote. And there is an event marking an end to this specific instability, which is December the 5th to the 14th, where I got a council or committee or group. There's a sort of deciding or judgment event. I'm sorry, I'm not an expert in how the US political stuff works, but those are the dates to watch out for 5th to the 14th of December for some kind of drawing a line under this thing. Here is the worst sketch of anybody you've ever seen, but we think this is MTG. Um, Maybe it'll turn out to be somebody else. And she's going to be proved right. It's going to be like, I told you so. So after I turned in my session, Josh gave me a blind retask, just more information about these people and the relationships. So we got documents being filed, like a legal ruling, talking about the institution, and a little bit on MTG here. Well, that it was a politician. They're business-like. Their personal motives are straightforward, goal-oriented, focused, practical, and they feel victories in their grasp here. They're like, wait until midnight. I'll show them. They're really confident that they're going to be proved right here. And just a bit of interest here, we did the relationships between these two parties, who I'm thinking are probably Trump and MTG. So this is like, how does Trump think about MTG? And it's awareness and monitoring, involvement, connection, working together, is important, paying attention to. How is MTG relating to Trump? Actually, weirdly positive, almost giddy, golden, shiny, on a pedestal. Like it felt kind of glittery or glitzy or something, which is kind of at odds with the stuff we see going on. But yeah, that's what I got. I was blind, so who knows? Um,
That was actually her position on him forever until just this week. So
oh,
I would say that's on target, at least for their relationship historically speaking.
yeah, I mean, this was supposed to be their relationship in 2 days' time, so maybe she still feels like that, but just also wants the files released. I don't know. And then the overall nature of their relationship, they're both working in the same direction, common perspective or goals, standing on the same line. They're different but aligned. So it's all consistent. I'm sorry that sketch isn't better. I will learn to draw before next time, maybe. Cool. That is
Awesome.
my session.
And we'll be sure to keep an eye on December 5th to 14th or so for
Yeah, we'll have
some
to remember that.
resolution to this storyline.
Yeah, if we start saying remember the 5th of December, we'll have you to thank, David.
Yeah. All right. Who's up next?
I haven't done many of these, and this last week was a challenging week for me. The day you wanted me to do the session, I think I had gotten 3 hours of sleep, and by the time I got around to trying to do it, I was like wrecked. So I was like, nope. And so I ended up sleeping in and doing it the next morning. Um, this session felt really interesting and different than most stuff that I do. So I got in my ideogram process, I got people or energy, three distinct loops through both times that I ran the ideogram. And I felt an energy, but it was just like a very low pickup, which isn't something that I normally get when I'm doing my ideograms. I usually feel something more distinct. So rudimentary speaking, we worked through what I was getting. My S3 data came back with like structures or walled type separators. I got the impression of like road construction, like when they're working on things and they'll section off areas and they'll make it really narrow. And so I get the feeling of a maze, like I said, similar to construction or road construction. So it's time consuming, like draining of energy, like you're trying to work through traffic and it slows down and one at a time, patient, keep moving along, don't stop. It felt like it was for protection. And so I feel like it's quite possibly like dovetailed into the stuff that Josh and David have shared. News-wise. So the process of the votes going through, very, very concise and precise about how to do it. You need so many votes, and they didn't have the correct number of votes until they got that last individual sworn in. Um, and it's been going back and forth about, let the files out, don't let the files out. And so like there's that draining of energy and consumption of time, but it's still moving along and no one's stopping. And so for protection, uh, I'm not sure whose protection that is, but um, that's what I ended up getting out of my sessions. So there you have it.
Yeah, you had the very distinct like two different structures in yours too, which I had in mine as well. So when I saw that from yours, I was like, oh, okay, so we're on the same trail here, I think, of something. So I'm thinking too, yeah, like you were probably picking up the House plus the Senate, which, combined sent the bill through, in record time, and all the delays finally have stopped. It feels like kind of like this feeling of, release, now that it's now that the files are hopefully going to be released. So yeah, that's great.
That's a good point. And so what's interesting is the descriptions of my walls, even though I'm thinking they're like construction or concrete, but they were like ornate, like it was
Mm,
granite, or marble where it was speckled and stuff. And so I could see how,
yeah,
if you've ever visited Washington, D.C., or some of these um, older buildings, they're very ornate, they're very beautiful. The stonework and masonry is just amazing. So that could be.
yeah. No, that's a good point too. Great. No, solid session. All right.
Yeah,
Who
good
wants to
job.
go next?
I'll go next. All right, so I might be a bit of an outlier here. Maybe mine's symbolic towards a crash of some sort, or a house falling down. You'll see that more in a minute. Um, uh, Remote viewing is a lot of symbology, right? But typically with my sessions, I don't get too much symbolic data once it's parsed, right? So um, let me show you what I got here. So first ideogram, I really did just one. I got, typically for a person, shooting straight up, straight down, and then straight across. So for me, I broke it into three different sections, A, B, and C, to get a little bit more data parsed out of that ideogram. So for A here, I more of the subject, a person, human, multiples, white, vertical, firm. Looking at B here, and again, for this drop down, kind of going up at a 45-degree angle straight down, I got that more as a structure. However, probing it, I did get more energetic kind of information, drop, fast movement, down. In terms of a sense of an object, sort of got flat, rounded. For that third part here, the C, straight across, well, that's land surface, right? Got hard, flat, broad, black, hot, got an AOL of pavement, asphalt, something like that. Diving more into it, I did another ideogram here and immediately got energy, spinning, rotating, almost felt graceful in a way. Kind of, I don't know what you guys call them, whirly gigs, like the seeds that fall from the trees and kind of spin down a little bit. That kind of feeling, right? Rotation, but definitely got an emotional impact of fear and dread, which runs counter to the graceful. But moving on here, breaking, snapping for my audio, something breaking. For touch, hard, sharp, jagged, it felt hot. Colors were tan, brown, red, and white flashing. I got a kind of a strobe effect. Dusty, kind of a powdery, hard to breathe kind of feeling and sensation, and energetically a dropping sensation. Kind of get that tickle belly feeling, you know. For dimensionals, I did a quick sketch. It felt like some sort of platform or structure, right? Full of people, and then a sudden movement down. Felt large, heavy, tall. Aesthetic impact, it felt like a collapse or a catastrophe. Hey, injury. So a viewer will move to the optimum location of target, sketch and describe. I sketched what I felt was an urban setting, buildings. We got structures, brown, earthen. It didn't feel like skyscrapers necessarily, more something like you would find in the Middle East or India. The sky up here, or the area that's not a structure, did feel like the sky, open blue, warm, sunny, nice. And then the area just below these structures, it felt very busy, colorful, horizontal movement, which I kind of took as traffic moving by. So I moved 100 feet above the target, sketch and describe. It did feel like a rooftop kind of feeling to it. A felt white, flexible, clean structure. It didn't feel attached to the overall structure. It did feel more like a tent or something put up in place for a celebration. Perhaps another structure here. I drew these little circular objects. It did feel more along the line of my previous subject in life. Felt like a celebration, happy, spinning, dancing, joyous, something like that going on. So it's definitely not a planned catastrophe, right? Maybe an adversary or something planned it, right? But it just seemed like a horrible event, a collapse. Got dusty, cloudy, destruction. Sorry, viewer will move to target moments after event, sketch and describe. Dusty, cloudy, destruction, sadness, confusion. Felt like it happened in an instant. Emotional impact, fear. Hey, I don't know what to do. Panic, right? So in short, target felt urban and foreign, some perhaps poorer country relative to the US, feelings of happiness and celebration initially, followed by strong feelings of falling or collapse, events happening suddenly, confusion, fear, and sadness. So looking at every other remote viewer's session here, you know, obviously we're jumping the gun on feedback for the 21st, right? So perhaps there's a little bit of crossover between other people's sessions that I'm now seeing here. Not intended to be feedback, but feedback in a sense, right? A lot of you got a collapse or a falling, like a house, house of representative, something like that. But I don't feel like that was my session was really symbolic in that nature, that it was more, hey, no, this is describing a building collapsing. How that relates to some sort of global event that has repercussions globally, I'm unsure. I didn't delve into that or do another session on top of that, but I was blind to it, and this is what I got.
All right. We did have geopolitics in the tasking, as well as you know, just sort of it was kind of broad, but it's quite possible you picked up a big event that might happen somewhere else. So yeah,
Well, I'll
we'll
just say
keep
if
our
you were
eyes open
planning
for
on
that.
having a party on the 21st on a rooftop in a brown building, maybe just stay home.
I'm not currently, so um, I won't make any plans in that vein. Anyway, hopefully, you know, a lot of the times with these kind of negative, scary predictions, a lot of the times they either don't come through, or they come through a little less chaotic and scary than we think, and
Correct.
hopefully that'll be kind of the case here.
Yeah, you're right. Usually when viewers see a mushroom cloud and a nuclear explosion, it's usually a small volcano in Central America.
All right. Well, last but certainly not least, we have Elisa's session.
Right. So, so when I did my session, I kind of focused on, a news prediction, and I saw that I was front loaded with news prediction at a specific date with the window attached to it, a specific date window attached. And so I thought I had to kind of predict a time as well. So you'll see that in my session later on. But let me kind of scroll down and see what I did here. And so my first ideogram just kind of, started out with that swoop down and back up, and I got the color white, gray, spin energy, fast momentum, and sticky. It felt really convoluted. Feels like it starts out with one life form and then it kind of expanded out to many. And as it did this, it felt like the story kind of changed. And then I can see all these other little ideograms, these little squiggles, and it felt like there was a lot of spin here. And as I moved on to page 3, I tried to expand on that feeling of spin. And when I touched on that feeling of spin, I felt this sense of disillusionment. And then you can see how I kind of felt this feeling of this high impact news that had the spotlight. And so when I started to dive into that, I just felt this intense spreading feeling like it was just a mess and it's just spreading out. And then as I moved down, it felt like there were just people pointing fingers in all these different directions. And I moved down this a little bit more, you can see I drew like the eye and then the line going down through it. And it felt like there was obscurity of the eye, obscurity of the truth. Moving down to page 4, my ideogram, as I touched it, I just get this overwhelming feeling of like a sense of see no evil, hear no evil. Once again, there was a life form. It felt like it was a male, a man of power, someone who was covering his ears, someone who creates his own version of reality and truth. In my next ideogram there, it was a feeling that no one would stop this event or news event from occurring. As I moved down, I started to feel numbers kind of moving through my mind. And I picked up a 3 and then a 16, and then it felt like a 3 and a 6 was there. And as I drew the next ideogram, I felt like there was this major change and a sudden stop. Something was going to completely just stop. And so I wanted to move and focus on the sense of time. And so I drew these little dots here. And I believe I saw that in those little dots in David's session actually for as well, but maybe for a different reason. To me, when I looked at those dots, they were months. And so I felt a sense of March as I was looking ahead. And I started to scan down time of day, and I picked up early afternoon. And so for my summary, I put this news event involves a male life form that is very powerful and wealthy. He feels almost like he controls the world, or at least he thinks he does. He doesn't listen to anyone or anyone's advice. There'll be a major stop that affects this life form, and how he will be able to continue to affect and influence everything He'll no longer be able to influence. He will no longer be. It's almost as if something happens to his brain. So some kind of physical issue and loss of function. And I felt like this occurred in a month of March, and the date was March 16th. So that's what I picked up. In our previous, session, we talked about the market volatility and things like that. And so I don't know if anyone wants to comment on if they see any kind of correlation between what they did and what I picked up. So
You just had me looking for the dots in my session because I was like,
I
what?
saw the
What
dots in your
dots? Yeah, no,
session.
I found
Yeah,
it.
you
I
got
Yeah.
the
it.
chain of
Got it just
events,
here.
David. That
I have
yeah.
said something about the dots.
You did.
I said calendar, sequence of events known, scheduled. The instability will reduce significantly after one of the future dates. The music will stop and things will move on. It's kind of like this period of craziness will
Right.
end.
Right. I saw that you had those little dots like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
totally
just thought that was
didn't think anything
interesting.
of them.
So maybe we're all getting different pieces of the same story that starts, right around now, March or November,
Mm.
third week of November, which we picked up in our November news. And now what we've got is maybe some of the next pieces of that same story. Um and yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Like this, we could be maybe whatever's starting here with this Epstein vote comes, maybe there's another big piece of that story in December and another one in March, because we got the three dots there, the three different events.
Right.
Um,
And
yeah.
Rich had picked up some kind of injury, right?
Hmm.
So I don't know if David, did you also kind of refer? I mean, multiple people here kind of referred to like a crash or stop or some kind of an abrupt stop.
Yeah, it was like the
Mine
Yeah,
end
definitely
of
had
a
an
period of
abrupt feel.
chaos for me, rather
My
than
my
it wasn't like
ideogram had that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
undestructive
Abrupt,
thing. It was like all this
An abrupt
madness is going to
stop.
kind of calm down and we'll draw a line under it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's significant.
Yeah, I still double down on mine. I do feel like mine was more like an actual physical event versus symbolic. But well, that's what feedback's for, and
Right.
post-session analysis after feedback. So we'll see.
Yeah. And did you feel like yours was a little bit rich more like in the future?
I didn't get necessarily the feeling of the future. I felt like it was perhaps maybe kind of the first domino that got the rest of the dominoes to kind of fall.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it was more, I don't know. I just had more of a feeling of maybe not a terrorist attack, but maybe some sort of country versus country or something that would, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, be a domino effect going down the path.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, remote viewing sessions and intuitive data in general can be more than one thing at the same time as well,
That is
right?
true.
Like,
That
Yeah.
is true. We did get very similar ideograms with, hey, life form, some event happening straight down, and like David said, line in the sand or underneath of it, hard stop. So that part's very interesting, and great correlation, David, and guys on the dots. I love seeing that between sessions with remote viewers. Just such an odd, specific thing
Yeah,
for two
that's what
people to get when you are
right.
blind to the target and all you have is an 8-digit number. Blows my
Right.
mind every single time. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Right. Such an odd right dots like that. I do love that. That's why I wanted
I've
to
got
kind
these dots too. Mine had
Oh
like,
yeah, you had the
again,
3. Yeah.
this
you have the
this
dots
this
too?
felt like a feeling of a stop each time, like almost like music notes playing, like
Oh, that's
up
right.
and
You
then
did.
down and then up and then down and up and then down, and three of
Awesome.
them as well. So that's
That's
interesting. I
very
didn't realize
interesting.
that
Yeah.
until now.
Well, and being on my phone, I didn't share my session with you, so maybe you can grab some screenshots. But my S3 data has dots, specks, spots all over my.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true. Yeah, you had the dots all over
I'm
the
glad I
the
mentioned it
structure.
then. because to me it felt significant to point out the dots.
And now we know why.
Mhm.
Because we all had it. That's weird. That's cool. I love it.
Yeah, I'm scouring my session now for dots.
Those dots are musical notes. If you play them, they go dun dun dun.
Yeah.
And you said when we get to the last dot, the music stops too. So
Right.
That's very
To be
true.
Continued.
Yeah.
It was a fun session,
Interesting.
and luckily we don't have too long to wait and see what our feedback
Yeah.
is. So
Oh, but we should have like a farewell, like they did at Gilligan's Island or something.
some kind of send off. Yeah.
Send
Yeah.
should
off.
we have like a Brady Bunch intro where we all look to like?
Yeah. Or
There's
maybe
a
we should have a
viewer.
couple of different ones.
There's a
Sure.
group.
Everybody
lucky
look straight at the
viewers.
camera and do a little dance. Yeah. No, thanks everybody for running my session. I hope we get to see some more results here soon. And for anybody watching at home, stay tuned for our December news coming soon.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, all the
Like,
things.
subscribe.
Mm.
Just push the buttons. Push them
Push
all.
the buttons.
Yeah, click them
Yes.
all. Hit all the buttons. All the
Click the
shiny
happy
buttons.
algorithm buttons. Spread the love.
Right on.
Sweet.
Awesome. See you guys. It's been a pleasure.
Yep.
All right.